Okay, so again, welcome. Tonight is our fourth and final community workshop, virtual workshops to get your input on for the climate action and resilience plan. It said final, but it's definitely not the final time that you'll be able to provide input. So it's just the time for us to collectively be together and go through this exercise. So we have a jam-packed agenda tonight, actually, and some virtual moving around. So hopefully that'll keep us entertained for a while. But first, we'll have some quick presentation, a continuation of kind of the presentation, looking at different climate resources and strategies, similar to the last time that we got together. Tonight we'll focus on mobility and solid waste. And then for 45 minutes, we'll do virtual open house, and I'll have more information about that later on. But you get to go around and check out the different focus areas of the plan that we have been discussing to date. And then once after that, we'll come back together. There's some additional information that we can share with you in terms of how to stay involved and kind of information to stay engaged and things like that. And then we'll adjourn. We'll get you out here by 7:15. Also, again, just to disclose the inclusion statement, both the City of Gloucester and MEPC are committed to fostering an inclusive and diverse learning environment. We acknowledge our differences and accept our diversity in gender, sexual orientation, disability, age, socioeconomic status, ethnicity, race, and culture as a strength. We strive to foster equity and to maximize respect and fairness. So today we need all participants to engage constructively and treat each other with dignity and respect. So thank you for that. All right, before we dive into the presentation, I want to show you a little bit of where we are with the climate action planning process to date. So as you see, we're near the end of action identification. So we've done a greenhouse gas inventory back in the fall, gathering data from all the entities. We have done a visioning workshop looking at goal setting, what are the priorities, talking to community members. There's some really great postcards, I think we'll post it to the website too. And then we have done a couple breakout group sessions, dive deeper into the different focus area of the plans, like buildings, energies, natural resources, solid waste, mobility, etc. And so since February and March, as you can see, the action identification box is the longest. That's what we've been doing, kind of continue collecting input from communities in various form on what they would like to see as actions and strategies to be included in the plan. We had stakeholder interviews with different folks and, from different community-based organizations. And then we also had these meeting in a box where our fabulous intern, Mila and Cami, have been going out into the community, I think virtually, but just to kind of provide presentation again, and also kind of have like this targeted session to talk to community members about what they'd like to see as strategies, ideas. And so today is a continuation of that, where we have collected all these input and ideas. There were over, I would say 200 or so far that we have gotten from, all the different ideas from all the workshops, all the meeting in a box, from the stakeholder meetings, meetings with the Clean Energy Commission as well. And so today we'll share some of that with you. And I just want to emphasize, this is not it. This is just kind of the compilation, like the collection of what we have so far. And this is our chance to get additional input from you in terms of, what else is missing? What else should we still be considering as we move into the evaluation phase next and put a plan draft together. So with that, I would like to welcome Felicia Webb from CATA. So Cape Ann Transportation Authority, if I'm correct. But anyway, I would like to welcome Felicia, and she can share a little bit about the programs there.
Right. Hello, I'm Felicia with the Cape Ann Transportation Authority, and I'll be providing a brief overview of CADA for you this evening. The Cape Ann Transportation Authority was established under Mass General Law 161B, and we provide service to the communities of Gloucester, Rockport, Ipswich, Essex, and Hamilton. And next slide. CADA fixed route runs in Gloucester and Rockport year-round, and we provide seasonal shuttles in Gloucester, Rockport, Ipswich, and Essex during the summer months. Service generally starts around 6 a.m. and runs until 7 p.m. during the week and starts a little later on Saturdays. The seasonal routes run at different times depending on which service it is. We provide tripper services to the high school and middle school, and a lot of our ridership actually is from the school kids. Fixed route fare ranges from 50 cents to $1.25 depending on the trip. And our pre-COVID ridership was about 200,000 trips on fixed route. Last year, we were at about 130,000, and this year we should be pretty close to our pre-COVID ridership. Next slide. CADA also offers ADA and demand response services. These are the little vans that you may see running around town. ADA service is for those individuals that are unable to use the fixed route bus due to a disability. Service is provided the same days and hours as fixed route service. Demand response service is offered in all 5 communities for seniors and persons with disabilities that do not qualify for ADA or live outside the ADA service area. For demand response, service generally starts around 9 a.m. and runs to 3 p.m. The fare on both ADA and demand response service is $2 or $2.50 one way, depending on the trip. Prior registration is required for both of these services, and the application is available online, or we can mail one out to the customer. CADA provided about 30,000 ADA and demand response trips pre-COVID. Last year, it was about 20,000, and this year, we're pretty sure we're going to exceed our pre-COVID ridership number. Next slide. CADA On Demand is a new service that covers a portion of Gloucester. It was originally funded through a MassDOT workforce transportation grant and was designed to address the first last mile issue between the commuter rail stations and the 2 industrial parks in town. CADA worked closely with Gloucester's EDIC on this project, and it's been extremely successful. The Chamber, the City of Gloucester, Applied Materials, AGH, and Gorton's have been very strong supporters of the service, and they've financially supported us as well. CADA On Demand has provided over 15,000 trips since we started last April. For that service, customers download an app to book and pay for their rides through their mobile phone, and service is provided within the service zone Monday through Friday from 7:30 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, and full fare is $2. Next slide. CADA has a fleet of 14 buses, 2 trolleys, and 16 vans. The buses and trolleys are diesel and the vans are gasoline. We've had a couple electric buses up here for demo projects. We had a Proterra bus and we've had BYD twice, just to see how the drivers, maintenance, and the customers feel about them. We're not quite ready to move to electric. It's a very big project, and we are one of the smallest transit authorities in the state. We do have 2 hybrid buses on order, and those should be arriving before June of next year, 2023. You can find additional information about CADA on our website, cantran.com. And I will also put that information in the chat. And that's all I have on CADA.
Great. Thank you so much, Felicia, for sharing the information. Unfortunately, I know you have to hop off very soon, but if you have any questions, Felicia's put her contact information in the chat there. And also, please feel free to reach out to Gemma or me at any time, and we can coordinate with Felicia in terms of your questions and suggestions as well. And up next, I'll turn it over to Jesse.
Yeah, thanks, Van. And hi, everyone. My name is Jesse Way, and I'm a clean energy specialist at MAPC. And today I will be providing a little information about clean mobility solutions and strategies. So next slide, please. So just to make sure everyone's on the same page, when we talk about clean mobility, we're referring to the movement of people and goods with modes of transportation that emit no emissions, such as biking, walking, or electric vehicles. And decarbonizing mobility is critical to achieving deep greenhouse gas emissions reductions because transportation is one of the two largest contributors of greenhouse gas emissions in most municipalities. And I'll also mention that MAPC has a municipal net zero playbook that outlines several strategies to move municipalities towards net zero emissions. And one of the chapters in that playbook is net zero mobility. So I'll be drawing a lot from that during this presentation today. And in that playbook, we present 4 core strategies to achieve zero emission mobility. You'll see them here on the slide. The first is support walking, biking, and public transportation options. The second is advancing zero emission vehicle infrastructure. The third is encouraging use of zero emission vehicles. And the last one is lead by example in your municipal fleets. So moving to the next slide, when we think about clean mobility, there are a few foundational concepts that are important to cover before we kind of jump into some of the individual example strategies that I'll go through. If you click again, Van, the first thing is that it's more efficient to move people around via bus or train than by what we call single occupancy vehicles, basically your cars and trucks that you use every day. And that's because buses and trains can move anywhere from 40 to 80 people versus cars typically carry 1, sometimes up to 4, or maybe a few more than that. In both cases, we want to encourage the use of electric vehicles where feasible because they offer a lower carbon mode of travel. And furthermore, moving all the way to the right, as we reduce the carbon intensity of the electric grid through the deployment of renewables such as wind and solar, electric vehicles will continue to result in fewer and fewer greenhouse gas emissions. And then clicking through one more time, the last thing I'll mention on this slide is that active modes of transportation are better than both cars and public transportation options. This includes modes of travel such as biking or walking, both of which emit essentially zero greenhouse gas emissions. We know that doesn't work for all use cases, but if you have a trip where you could walk or bike, it's better to do that than to use your car. Moving to the next slide. It's the first of 4 example strategies that I'll walk through during this presentation. Do keep in mind there are many more. I just picked a few out to give as examples here. So the first one is to adopt a complete streets policy. So this means committing to the implementation of projects to improve safety and convenience for residents who choose to bike, walk, or take public transportation. And these efforts should prioritize considerations for children, older adults, and people with disabilities. So by making biking, walking, and public transportation safe and convenient for all, municipalities will make these modes of transportation a viable alternative to inefficient modes of travel, such as trips in single occupancy vehicles, as we talked about a second ago. So I'll mention that Gloucester already has a complete streets policy, which was adopted back in 2016. So what MAPC would typically recommend here is to revisit that complete streets policy through the lens of greenhouse gas emissions reductions and ensuring that it's aligned with the town's goals in that respect. So for example, it may be worth addressing micro mobility options that may not have been previously incorporated, such as electric scooters or electric bikes, or other options that may not have been considered when it was adopted back in 2016. So moving on to the next slide, the second strategy I'll talk about today is to expand the availability of public charging stations. Now, when I'm talking about public charging stations, I'm referring to publicly accessible places where people can charge their electric vehicles. So just throughout the rest of the presentation, I'll refer to electric vehicles as EVs for short. Wanted to let you in on that lingo there. So for this strategy, we recommend the municipality invest in public EV charging stations in high traffic areas that support longer parking durations, such as libraries, schools, downtown parking garages, and other parking lots. This will allow residents, workers, and visitors to charge their vehicles while they're away from home. And providing these public charging stations gives potential EV drivers more confidence that they will be able to charge their vehicles when they need to, increasing their likelihood of choosing electric the next time they buy a car. In terms of immediate next steps the cluster could take for this strategy, one of the things is selecting appropriate sites for the deployment of EV charging stations and consideration of the appropriate station types based on the use cases of the selected sites. And MAPC does have a resource linked on this slide if anyone kind of wants to look into that more about what types of things to consider as you're considering locations for EV charging stations. And last thing I'll mention here is that there is funding available for the installation of public charging stations, both from electric utilities and from the state. More information on those incentives can be found in MAPC's Net Zero playbook. The next strategy is to promote local education and awareness of electric vehicles. So, at first glance, the transition to electric vehicles may seem to rest squarely on consumer choices, but local education and awareness building can play a critical role in nudging residents towards electric vehicle options. So to increase awareness, municipalities can partner with local auto dealerships or state agencies to develop a suite of outreach services. So can include any number of things. A couple of examples are ride and drive events where you actually have EVs available for people to come and test ride, or even working with the dealerships to provide extended test drives for electric vehicles. So if someone was considering purchasing one, they could borrow it for a day and really get the feel for it. An immediate next step the cluster could take here would be to include identifying priority audiences to engage through outreach, and where existing or new communication channels need to be established. So moving on to the last strategy here, or the last one I'll mention today, is that the municipality could lead by example. So you do that through adoption of a zero emission fleet policy. This zero emission fleet policy would basically set a standard for new vehicle purchases or leases whenever available and operationally feasible would be zero emission. And when vehicles are not available or operationally feasible, the standard should require the municipality to strive to acquire vehicles as close to zero emissions as possible. And then if Gloucester wanted to pursue something like this, if they wanted to adopt this standard, they should commit to updating it every 2 to 3 years to account for rapid improvements in the technology, because it is a rapidly advancing market. And so, yeah, one of the things that would be helpful for this as a first step would be undertaking a fleet assessment to identify near-term opportunities for vehicle replacements with commercially ready EV models, and calculating the fuel and operation savings of switching to those vehicles. And I'll stop there. I feel like I've taken enough time, so I'll pass it back to Van.
Great, thank you, Jesse. Yeah, and hopefully as you go into the focus group area later on mobility, you'll see, I think, some similar strategies that you as a community have already provided input as well. Last but not least, I have some information on solid waste management resources to share with you on behalf of Recycling Works. Recycling Works is a Recycling Works in Massachusetts. The name is an assistance program providing free assistance to help businesses and institutions maximize recycling, reuse, and food waste diversion opportunities. This program is funded by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, MassDEP, and is delivered under contract by the Center for Ecotechnology, CET. It's an environmental nonprofit, so all the services are available at no cost. And this one is focusing on for resources and some strategy to think about for the local businesses and institutions. And so here are some of the example of the technical assistance offering that Recycling Works have. They can help with anything from, materials, diversion, your businesses generate from single stream recycling to food waste to construction and demo materials, etc. And the program also provides businesses the support they need to comply with the Massachusetts waste ban and go beyond compliance and to maximize the waste diversion too. As many of you know, Mass DEP has implemented waste ban on hazardous recyclables, compostable materials. Some waste bans like cardboard have been in place since the 1990s. And with the upcoming 2020-2030 solid waste management plan or master plan, Mass DEP has revised the list to include things like textiles, mattresses, and is reducing commercial food waste ban from 1 ton of food per week to ½ ton of food waste per week. So there's some really interesting and detailed in that plan, and Recycling Works can definitely help your businesses and institution navigate through that. They also help with kind of following the EPA food recovery hierarchy. So using that to help you kind of plan and manage for that too. There are many of helpful tools on Recycling Works website for you to use, such as the food waste estimation guide, as well as this Find a Recycler tool, which I find it really helpful. Anyone can access and research like a haulers for all kinds of materials here in or near your town. And you can search for haulers on like single stream recycling, C&D materials, etc. Or they also have, Recycling Works has like a hotline which businesses can also call and email and ask questions as well. So this is an example of like some of the signage that Recycling Works help design to help businesses kind of tailor, to help businesses kind of increase the recycling, the single stream recycling, food scrap management, that type of thing. They also have translated versions in different languages too, so definitely check them out. And so this is taken from like the Recycle Smart guide available for free on Recycling Works website. The link is up here for you to see. And it goes into, the guide also kind of detail what kind of materials are recyclable in recycle in Massachusetts, and mainly it's because of the viable markets exist for these items that you see here. They also have for businesses and institutions, but for residents too. I use this quite a little bit. They have this like Recyclopedia website tool or a database, I guess, and you can type in, for example, like pizza box and click search, and it'll tell you or not like an item should be replaced or placed in your recycling bin. So it's definitely helpful to find out. And lastly, the Center for Eco-Technology is a great resource for businesses and property owners to actually to look at kind of energy efficiency programs. As well, they do no-cost energy assessment, install complementary shower heads and aerators are some of the example here in terms of appliances. They work closely with Eversource utility company on gas, electric, and delivery fuels and things like that. Looking at incentive programs kind of help you navigate through that. Anyone can reach out to Recycling Works. And like I said, it's a Mass DEP program. And so all of this service kind of help you navigate through the solid waste management is available to you at no cost. I have some information here as well. Abby Massara, she's amazing. And so I think Francelis will drop her email into the link as well. If you have any questions for your businesses or just in general residential, you can reach out to her as well. Okay, so with that, we are going into, so for today, if you have any questions, please put in the chat bar. And if we have time near the end of this activity, we can circle back. Gemma and I will certainly collect it, and then we can coordinate and respond to you. But just for the interest of time, we want to like really get you into providing your review and input in these focus areas that we've been working on. So we'll do something new, which is we'll call it a virtual open house, where you'll get to see, you won't be assigned to a specific topic, but you'll get to see a few of them hopefully as well. So again, I'll explain to you how that works, but before we go into that, just want to remind you again, here are the 7 focus areas of the Climate Action and Resilience Plan that we've been working on: buildings, energy, natural resources, infrastructure, solid waste resources, mobility, and social resilience. This one, you might have remembered earlier, is we had it as public health and safety. And so we kind of took a step back beyond that to like really encompass all of, the overarching strategies or actions, input from communities that really can help strengthen social resilience for the city in general. And then we'll have facilitators in each of these rooms that you'll go into. But just so you know what we're looking for today, you'll see the kind of the list of draft strategy input that we have been collecting and kind of create for your review. 2 main questions we want to ask you today. One is, are there additional strategies that should be added? What's missing, or what's the language? Does it need to detail a little bit more, things like that. So our facilitators will take notes, and then we'll go back to to the table and refine that even more, and add anything that we miss. And then the second question we have is, which of the strategies that you see in each of the focus group here should be high priority for implementation for that specific focus area? So how are we doing this? Okay, so there will be 7 focus area breakout rooms. What you see here at the bottom of your Zoom app screen, you should see, once I open all the rooms, you should see this breakout rooms icon here. You click on it, and a small window should pop up, and you should be able to join you can only do one actually, of the 7 topics of your choice. Just keep in mind, we will have 45 minutes to do this. So you will be able to stay in each room about 10 to 15 minutes or so to provide your input, your review, ideas and things like that. So keep in mind, you'll be at least able to see 3 focus areas tonight. So pick your top 3. If you're going into a room and you see that it's too crowded, feel free to leave and go to a different room, your second or third choice, and then come back. You'll have 3 try to get into that. So you'll click on the room that you want to join, go in there, and then every 15 minutes, I will announce and help facilitators to wrap up, anything during that 15-minute session. And then you'll be able to move on to you'll be able to select by clicking on the breakout rooms again and go into the next subject. When you click leave the room, it will pop up and show you the different breakout rooms you can go next. And if all fail, don't worry. You can just leave the room and choose to go back to the main room. I will be there and I will help you get into the next room that you want to be part of. If you can't figure how to get into breakout rooms either, also don't worry, stay in the main room and I will help you get into the room of your choice as well. So with that, one more time, discussion guideline here, just so make sure, I won't read through it, but please be respectful of each other, give room, and make space for everyone to participate in the conversation. So with that, I will now open the room. Facilitators, get into your assigned room, and then, if you have any questions, stay in the main room and I will help you get there, okay? So enjoy and happy conversation. Is everyone seeing the breakout rooms okay? Facilitators, thumbs up. Great. Right, who needs help? Noelle, you can unmute and let me know.
Where are the rooms?
Okay. Do you see on a breakout rooms button at the bottom of your screen?
What color is it?
Well, it has no color. It has the 3 dots. But how about I'll move you into a room? So of the 7 focus area, what buildings, energy, resource, infrastructure, solid waste, mobility, social resilience, which one would you like to go into? I can move you.
Natural resources.
Great. Okay. So when I drag your name into that room, there will be a small pop-up window and say join the room. You click join. Okay. Give me 1 second. Noelle, where are you? There you are. Natural resources. Great. Robert, Michelle, and Noah, how are you doing? Open up for me.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. So Mila, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically these final slides are just about making sure everybody is aware about how to stay involved and updated with the CARP project, and also how to, as this slide says, take action. So I'll just kind of read out the bullets on this slide for options about how you could get involved with this sort of sustainability work today and in your own life. So consider switching to Gloucester's 100% local green option for your energy needs, and you can click that link, or I suppose you can't click it, but maybe someone will be so generous as to drop it in the chat for you to click on if you're interested, to learn more about that. And then explore free and discounted energy efficiency programs for your property. And we've got another link for that one if you're interested in more information. And check out Mass CEC's resources for solar electricity, which is something that people have been having a lot of questions about. So that of course would include, residential solar information, and then information about cost and performance and return on investment and all of that wonderful stuff. And then you can find out more at that final link. And then this is about staying involved with CARP and kind of seeing where all of your input is going to be going at the end. So you can follow us on social media at Innovate Gloucester for Instagram and Twitter. And then Innovate Gloucester is the Facebook page. So depending on what platforms you use, we're pretty much covering all our bases here. And we hope that you definitely keep up with what we're working on. And then as always, you can just on the gloucestermass.gov website, we have a page that gives updates on what we've been working on. So definitely be checking out those things. And then the final note is that our Clean Energy Commission is going to be reviewing all of this input and working on sort of putting together that final plan and prioritizing the input, which is kind of our next big step, prioritization. And if you want to be involved in that final step or at least be aware of what input ends up moving to the top of the list, you're welcome to join a Clean Energy Commission public meeting, the next one of which is on April 14th. So yeah, thank you all so much for coming.
Great, thank you so much. I know tonight we're just touching like the tip of the iceberg with these kind of conversation, and you only get to see 3 out of 7 focus areas. So Greg and I were just talking, and we'll find a way to put this on the website as well, so that you'll have a little bit more time to continue thinking about and check out the other focus group that you didn't have a chance to get into. So it's 7:16. Please, we can close the meeting now. I'll stay around a little bit if you have any questions. And of course, thank you so much for participating in this effort. We really value your input, and we'll stay connected and update you as the next phases of this planning process in the next couple months. Thank you and have a good evening.